All right. Hey, guys. Welcome back to Powering Real Estate. Really excited about today's topic. We're going to be talking about lead intelligence, creating smarter lists in your follow-up boss. So my name is Lee Adkins, joined by the lovely and amazing Kris McDonough. What's up, Kris?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. And Mr. Steve Gerten, the CEO of Agent Legend. What's up, Steve?
All is good. Great to see you too. Excited for the topic today. Should be a good one for the viewers here.
Awesome. Absolutely. We're excited to dive in. Welcome to Powering Real Estate. Join me, Lee Adkins, and Kris McDonough as we explore what it takes to run a great real estate business and how to have a solid strategy, great tactics, and a great plan for your real estate company.
All right, everybody, let's get started. My name's Kris McDonough. I am the COO of Amplified Solutions, and I came to Amplified Solutions through a tenure in real estate as the broker in charge of a large firm, had about 225 agents across 2 states. So I have a lot of experience with managing leads and helping agents to understand the ins and outs of it. So we are education first. We are going to really dive into the hows and whys, that this is an important topic. And at the last minute or so, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Amplified Solutions, what we do and how you can help your business grow. So heading up our episode here is Lee Adkins. He's our Chief Learning Officer and co-founder. Lee, you want to tell him a little bit about how you came to run Amplified Solutions?
Sure, yeah. So I like to say I've worn every hat in real estate. I've been a solo agent, I've been a team member, run operations for a team, partner in a brokerage, all of the above. Now we just focus on the operations side and very specifically tied to the Follow Up Boss CRM and the tools that connect to that. So it's been great doing all the things, having all the things, but really love this role of a global approach to the systems and making sure that everything's working right. So I think it's always important to give a little real estate background. I think sometimes people think we just do tech stuff, but Kris, we've obviously lived in the brokerage and agent training and compliance space for a long time. So, Steve, we're so glad to have you on today. We'd love for you to give a little bit of your background, kind of what you do now, what Agent Legend does, what they provide, and then we'll dive right into the session.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm up here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul market. Actually ran a real estate team, tried and true story, right? Came from the industry. And actually got into prop tech with a solution that we created in-house for our team. And then we commercialized it and had an opportunity to actually exit that business. That led me into actually consulting and helping other closely held businesses and just preparing their business for either a liquidity event or potentially an exit. During that time, we got approached by the owners at Agent Legend as they were looking to exit, and I actually had used the product back during our Gerten Homes days, and so knew the product really well, understood the value prop within the community. And as I learned just in terms of just helping the owners just build value within their companies, knew that there was something within Agent Legend that, when applied correctly, would really help those clients that just ultimately want to build a more valuable business. And that's where we stand today. So what Agent Legend, I call it 1.0, really is your outbound communications vehicle. So think the lead flow that's coming into your CRM. In the case of Follow Up Boss, we integrate directly into that platform, and we're helping the team members collapse the speed to lead. And so leads can be buyers and sellers, but they can also be, we're running recruitment campaigns, we're running open house campaigns. There's all sorts of different types of lead engagement strategies that we just enable our clients to capitalize on. And so those are going to be your texts, they're going to be your ringless voicemail, email, video texts. And then we also have the ability to do handwritten letters. So we're all about that personalization at scale. And then what we're now in the age of is our Agent Legend 2.0, which is taking all of the history and data that Agent Legend had accumulated over the 8 years of being in operations, and now coming with the AI solution that we're here to discuss today and the advantages for those teams and members that want to use it.
Love it. That's awesome. Yeah, we obviously we're in the same lane, helping people, get organized, get their stuff together, have all the systems working together. So I love that. And I love you sharing the evolution. Really appreciate that. I think a lot of people in real estate want it to be set it and forget it. And people don't always realize that it's always iterative. And that's just part of the gig. So, but yeah, really excited about that because again, we're super congruent in that. Like we really want to help empower people to run a better business, and of course, in these days, that always is through some sort of tool. In this case, predominantly the CRM is the brain, and all the things that attach. So, love that. Well, let's dive into a little bit first and foremost. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Just one thought is we're thinking through just the value. When we ran our company, wish we used a service like yourself, right? The ability to have somebody dedicated and focused on, which really is an asset with your company, right? And when somebody comes in to potentially want to partner with you in that business, you're able to help that user. Like what builds value with your company is not just top line revenue, but it's building the systems and processes, which you guys do incredibly well, to just ultimately build more predictable, sustainable, and transferable cash flow, right? That's the precipice of what we really focus our attention on. And there's so many great vendors out there, and we're positioning Agent Legend to just complement all of those. So, how do we better enhance the deliverable to then just making sure that everything bubbles up to just more value with the company that everybody is building today?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, kind of back to the iterative thing, and I know we're going to get into this later. And I think everybody gets excited about new leads, but what about the people you've already paid for, the people that have, to your point, that history, the intel, they had inquired in this price point and now they're doing this, now they're looking here, now they're on your website. You're using that to kind of just reiterate what you said, just to bubble up the right people. Like you want to have 8,000 people in your database, but you don't want to have an agent stare down 8,000 people and try to figure out which 5 they should call. So thus our topic today.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to cover a little bit on a high level. What is a smart list? This is going to be a lot of this can be powered by the concept that your smart lists in your follow ball system are generally your workflow. The idea of a smart list is here's this silo, here's this silo, here's this silo, different messaging for a new lead versus a nurture lead versus a past client versus, a recruit or whatever they may be. But these smart lists in Follow Up Boss conceptually are a series of filters that show you certain people. So whether it's that they've been recently active on your website or with the other tools, whether they've made an inquiry, some sort of communication tool has reached out to them and they've engaged with that. The smart lists and Follow Up Boss are basically defining specific criteria of leads that you want to follow up with. Now, the upside to this is, if you're running a team or a brokerage, you need to have that consistent experience. You don't need to just be like, hey, agent, go call some people. You need to have, hey, here's your hot people. Here's what you do. Here's what you say. Here's what marketing goes to them. And so creating these segments is really the essence of that smart list. We're not going to go super deep. We've got 1,000 videos on how to make smart lists. So we're not going to make them while we're here today. But, again, just remember this idea that the smart list are the segments. And then on top of that, we like to use filters on our smart list that are dynamic. So they say either this person has been active and you have not called them in X number of days, or they were created X number of days ago and you haven't called them in the last 12 days or 12 hours or whatever that is. So just want to kind of establish that first and foremost. And then we're going to dig in more with Steve and how to drive more data to get people into those smart lists so that you can call them with more intelligence.
Beautiful.
Kris, do you want to tackle, that's the essence of smart list at a high level. Do you want to tackle, adoption?
Absolutely. And I was just thinking about that. Having smart lists is great. Like when you open up your Follow Up Boss account out of the box, there's some out of the box smart lists that you can use. And we, as Lee said, help people refine those and make sure that they are segmenting the database properly. Having your smart lists in the correct order so that your agents know when I log in, I work left to right. I start with this smart list, I move down as I'm prospecting. But one of the things that I feel like is a big reason why people come to us at Amplified Solutions is that their agents don't understand fully how smart lists are made. They don't understand why they have to use them. And which I think it really comes down to trust. And education is really, really key here. If your agents or your admins or whoever is supporting you don't understand how to create a smart list, what pulls things into a smart list, and why things fall out of a smart list. The education piece is key here. That's going to help you unite everyone behind how to use them, what they are, how to edit and create them. And the more knowledgeable your team is about smart lists and all the nitty gritty things, that's going to give them confidence. Because where you want to end up is where they're going to inherently trust that you have set up these smart lists, or we have, if you've hired us to, pull these in, and they know when I log in, these smart lists are going to serve up everyone I need to talk to. And that trust comes from the education piece. So you're going to want to talk about smart lists. Speaking to team leads here, you're going to want to talk about smart lists way more than you think you have to. It's not well, I trained everybody and they should get it. No, you need to talk about your smart lists at every single sales meeting, that reiterative training. You're going to want to use cheat sheets. You're going to want to use your CRM handbook, all of these things so that it's really top of mind and everyone has a very high level of understanding. So, because if they don't trust the information that's in there, they're not going to use it. And that kind of goes along with any tech tool, but especially your smart lists. And your smart lists, as Lee said, are the workflow. You start with your first smart list and you go through your 5th or your 10th, however many you have set up for your particular business model. But that reiterative training, you don't want to do it, but it has to be done so that they know exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it's just a way to direct your daily activity, right? How do I invest my sales calories, the calories that we all have every single day, on the right people? And that is the core of how we look at smart lists, right? Of these leads are the people you need to be talking to right away in the morning, and then you repeat that process so it becomes ingrained in the entire team's daily activities, and it's just followed by everybody. And so when you have a systemic process, and then with also what you're doing is just the measurement on this list, by working this list is adding people to the pipeline, and when you can show the results, that's when things really really take shape. And then how are you treating the different segments and allocating again those calories appropriately?
Yeah, I love that example. That's a great idea. And that really is the point, right? We don't want them spending time figuring out who to call. We want them to spend time making calls and having better conversations. And so, we're really big fans. We didn't invent this, but, we're really big fans of the concept of Smart List Zero. And what this is where you have dynamic smart lists that have those filters that say, hey, this guy's in hot, but you haven't called him in 12 hours, or this person's an active client and you haven't called them in 2 days, or whatever that criteria is. But the idea is that no one needs to think beyond what to say on the telephone. They need to call the 5 people in their hot list and have good conversations, but they don't need to poke around for 30 minutes to find people that they think they need to call. And so again, the concept here is that once you make that call and follow-up loss, because it says you haven't called them in 5 days, once you call them, they fall out of that smart list and they come back to it 5 days later when it's time to call. So I just wanted to really tee up that concept before we dive deeper into some of the data and lead intelligence that Steve's going to cover. But Smart List Zero is really that. And back to Kris's point, this requires training, consistency, and polite but firm enforcement of the system. We work with a lot of people who will take people off leads if they can't maintain Smart List Zero because they're apparently too busy to call the prospects they have. So, hey, we're going to pause you on leads until you get caught up. And kind of similar to what Steve said as well. Now, that's a factual policy, right? You're not mad at somebody because they didn't do something, so you take them off leads. There's a defined policy that says, hey, if you don't maintain Smart List Zero for 2 days in a row, we're going to take you off new leads so you can get caught up and get back to work in your smart list. So again, just wanted to cover that concept high level. We work with a lot of people that do it. Some people have ISAs that are taking those initial calls, but they're still Smart List Zero. Some people have the agents doing them. Some people are doing it with past clients, even vendors or recruiting. A ton of great ways to use this data. But Steve, let's get into the heart and the meat of the lead intelligence stuff. Excited to hear more about what you guys are launching and how people can use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when we talk about just sales calories, the core of this is to create easier wins for the agents themselves, whether they're an agent working it or you have the ISA team, whatever those models are. Again, as an owner, you're looking at the margin. What are my margins on these activities? And if we can just increase the operational efficiency by a percentage point or two, that has a dramatic impact on everything. And so that's ultimately what we're doing. You've probably heard of the predictive scoring and propensity models that are out there. I'll speak to the differentiation because we use those, right? We know the platforms that are out there, the typical 5 Ds, right? You got your diapers, divorce, diamonds, tell me the others. But to give you a little peek, those are just 5 of the attributes that we've accumulated in our modeling of over 1,500 attributes. So you look at all that, and in the aggregate, that's all great. Now that's third-party data. You mentioned this first-party data. And, that's traditionally smart lists, right? Where we're connected to our IDX website and we're monitoring, who's visiting the website and who's clicking on properties. And those might get bumped into a form of a smart list. You got the leads that come in real time. You got to talk to them. But it's those other leads that have been in your database for 3 months. They're still out there and they have activity that's going on. And so there are a lot of people that just like to look at properties. They might be a client of yours that just bought yesterday, and they might get bought into a smart list because they like to look at their neighbor's house. So what the power of this is, and we'll show you a couple slides that we put together, is combining that first party data, all the great information that's already in your CRM, and combining it with that third party data, and now putting it into itemized columns with scoring and having confidence around that score. And so I'll give you a little bit more detail around, again, we provide more transparency. What is into this information that's coming out? And we also, for each individual client, we're creating a customized model. And that is different. So you're not thrown into a pooled model and if there's an aggregate. And again, you're pooled with maybe a model that was derived for out in the Northeast, but you're in Southern California. Again, that there might be some discrepancy there. And so that's why you see people really shaking their head or raising an eyebrow around propensity models and lead scoring. And so that is, again, why we were very focused and we wanted to apply what we knew could take the current models, supercharge them, and then we have to have results. And so I'll share a little bit around, the results that we're already seeing, that ultimately it's all around profitability. And so I'll share a little bit about that right now. So would you guys like me to share a few slides?
Yeah,
or
that'd be great. I think that's
in?
a great way to demo. And I just want to lean back and reiterate what you said about the predictive and the behavioral. Like that's really where
Right.
it's at, right? You want to have some sort of predictive, like, oh, they're looking at engagement rings online, but also they're on my website doing this, or they bought this, or they did this thing, or they opened this email and they haven't opened an email in 6 months. So having both of
Yep.
those
Mhm.
things is really, that's where it's at. That's where it's headed.
Absolutely. And I'll
And it
talk to
blows.
again as we look at all the other platforms. Your fellow interview that you did with Ryan and Tom and Carrie was that is, if you don't know about fellow, you got to go check them out. But what we believe you can do is now using lead intelligence across the 30,000 leads that you have in your database, and then segmenting them appropriately and shooting them into systems like that, the ones that are going to help those people rise to the top, but then having the confidence around who they are and what they look like. That's critically important, so that your salespeople, when they pick up the phone, they have confidence that they're going to close that person because they have more information at their fingertips. That's where the application is for this solution. So yeah, I'll illustrate a little bit about that as well. Kris, you had something as
And
well.
while you put that up, I'm so glad you said, you know, being in the position that we're in the real estate community or industry, we are seeing everyone scrambling for the magic pill, the magic button, the magic smart list, the magic action plan, whatever. Um, and they're forgetting that last piece, which you just said. When the agent picks up the phone, that that's the final piece of the puzzle. You're not looking for a magic pill. You're putting together like a potion. You need a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And that's magic isn't going to work until you pick up the phone and talk to these people, because you can gather all of the intelligence in the world, but until you have that conversation, it's not going to do you any good. So I'm really glad that you pulled that all together, because a lot of people are trying to figure out, they want to keep the agent in the transaction, but they're trying to figure out how to do it without doing the work. So I love that it's like, no, you can put all this stuff together, but the puzzle's not done until you pick up the phone and you call them.
Absolutely, 100%. Yes, and we want this again. There's more predictability into the future, right? There's so much going on in the industry. You got the NAR settlement, right, in the today's age, and if you're watching this in the future, the next thing that's coming down are going to be the new TCPA regulations that are coming down, which are going to drastically dilute the quantity of leads that you're getting with changes. So that's a totally different session. And so as you're thinking through the cost per lead, and then what is it actually costing me to close that lead, that's what we want to have you use the solution like this to, again, increase operational efficiencies. And so I'll walk through a couple slides here, to start, is just behind what this model and how it was built and how we're doing it. So we have a one-to-one match to about 270 million consumers. So that covers a bulk of the United States, where if we know the name, email address, phone number, and an actual physical address, we can actually start combining this information on the consumer. We also have the ability to go and find the data. So for those that have really messy databases, where we love to start, and I'd love to get your opinion as well, is like, we got to clean this thing up, because ultimately data in, or garbage in, garbage out. And so if we can start fresh by cleaning everything up, helping you bring in the data to just make sure that you have the proper phone numbers, because phone numbers change and you have to be sensitive to that, the proper email addresses, and then is this actual address that's being reported correct? Because as you're buying leads from all over the place, you never know how dated the information is. And so we want to just ensure accuracy. Then on top of that, we're looking at the couple bullets here are just around Agent Legends history and all the lead information that we've collected with conversations back and forth, where we've been able to now pool all that information across a myriad of industries. So our primary industries that we serve, real estate by far, but we also do serve the mortgage industry. We have a contingency of insurance. We're seeing home services grow. And then we have some e-commerce. But now you're kind of seeing how we're combining all of this great data. to build, where we're not coming out with a pooled model for everybody. Where we start is actually I mentioned this earlier, what sets us apart is going to be we build every customer their own custom model. And so that's looking at our first phase is going to be, let's look at your past client information. We're going to analyze that information. We're also going to bounce that off of all the other leads that were sourced during that time. And what that allows us to do is then come back to the customer. So before we just say turn the modeling on to get your scoring, we're going to come back and we're going to help you identify whether or not the model was strong. And so the illustration in this slide, and you guys kind of nailed it, is on the left-hand side, you kind of have everybody is tossed into a pool, and maybe you have that first-party information. Well, where we are heading and where we want our clients to be focused on, and the clients that are thinking more into the future, is to break that database apart using something like a lead intelligence and focusing on, you have all these great automation tools that are out there. And so how do you then bucket those people appropriately where your daily sales calories, whether it's you or your inside sales agents, or perhaps you're doing direct mail, billboard ads, you name it, they need to be directed in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. In quadrant 1, what we're seeing right now is we help you focus on the top X% of your database in those daily activities by talking with them, starting conversations, figuring out what offer it's going to take them to secure them as a client as you're moving forward, to make sure that you're out competing the local competition. We're already seeing that those that focus on the top quadrant here are converting at a 4x conversion rate. And so you're already seeing the results of that, where we can automate the communications, the drips, throw them into a platform like Fellow, use Agent Legend with our campaigns that are going to continually engage with them. Ylopo's got great tools with regards to their conversational AI. Those leads can be in that maybe the 4 and 3 bucket. And eventually those leads can jump into the higher segments here. But again, we want to focus the attention on the top of the top. And how do you do that? Well, that's with the smarter list, right? Take the basic principles of your smart lists and make them smarter. And so my data team forced me to include some of these slides. So I am going to talk to them just so if there are any people on this, because our customers usually don't want to be in the weeds. They want to know, if I invest money in this, or if we use it, are we going to make more money? But to give you an idea around what we return. So I mentioned the first phase is, and that this is why Follow Up Boss is just incredible, in that we are first going to analyze the information that's already in Follow Up Boss. So not only the name and information, we can clean up the actual profile information, but we're also going to include, when did that lead come in? How many touches has it had, which is all being tracked? Website activity, everything else that Follow Up Boss does such a great job of bringing into the fold. And then we're going to go and we're going to build a model. And the left-hand quadrant is what I come back with at the beginning. And I'm going to say, we feel really good about this model. And the reason for that is by looking at all your past clients, those that we scored a high number on, they actually did convert. And so it gives you some confidence around applying it, is really the basics of that graph that you see on the left. And then if you get to the right, another key thing that, again, will separate us is the transparency of the model. Is these actually are the attributes that are bumping up a person's score. And so you could see the different things that we're pulling in, like they're a Facebook user, sure, but travel and cruise ship, vacation, like these are people that are in your database, and this is what they're doing. And so other pools, you might not receive that information, but I'm showing this because it all blends into what will ultimately be routed into Follow Up Boss, which is here. And so when we turn it on, we have a direct API. And so I mentioned the pool is specific to your business. So you have confidence in that. That in and of itself, that model is an asset to the client. They have that now. They can now use that in conversations, whether they're attracting agents. Part of their secret sauce is going to be, we have now leveraged and adopted AI within our business, and this is how we're deploying it to help you sell more. And this is how we deploy it to, if I'm the marketing personnel, this is how we help you get the most bang for your buck when we are advertising and marketing to our customers. And so you can see on the left-hand side, really what this illustrates are just the scores on the bottom, and that by focusing on them, we can predict a lift. And so I'm not going to go too deep into that, but what I want to focus on is so that people, as we're talking about smart lists, this is a example of one, right? Where you have the lead information. In this case, we just created a lead intelligence score of the top of the top. And that would be for those that, if you have your ISA team, or if you have other individuals that should be calling on them as well. But the other thing, and so for you guys, I think an exercise can be, how do we now build smart lists that combine all of the website activity, combine it with lead intelligence? You can kind of start conceptualizing how these lists can really take shape and how they can be deployed.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it takes it right back to the segmentation. These people are 90 to 100. These people are 80 to 89. These people are that. But to your point, we can still layer on top of that additional behavioral. This person is a 96 and they were on your website last night. So that's I don't know what else to do other than to tell you to call them.
Right.
No, so I'm seeing in the screen you're sharing, it's a screenshot of Follow Up Boss. You have your Agent Legend Smart List. And then in the columns, I see lead intelligence and then I see persona. So I have two questions. So first, when you sync up and work with Agent Legend and lead intelligence, that's going to add those columns to your Follow Up Boss account?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
So that is,
I love it. And tell me,
after phase one, right, we're going to first do that database audit. And there's some clients that unfortunately we didn't feel confident turning on the model. And that happens. It could be perhaps, a big reason is maybe there's not enough data. They have a smaller database is typically a restriction of ours. And we're working on solutions that can apply that. But that, again, for the team, and I think, Kris, you had mentioned, is just as you think about the playbook, we're now handing over more confidence to the team members around what's this cute little number here. And now it's overlaid with what you mentioned is the website activity. Now I have a little bit more to talk to them about. And then, I have a persona behind that. I'll talk to that here in a second.
Awesome.
Okay, good. I'm interested in hearing about that.
Yes.
Yes.
So the persona is the other column that we're now populating as a custom field. And so what that is because of the 270 million households, if we know, this first contact who's emerging adult Ellie, these are what comes back to you for your playbook. And so this has value in and of itself, because if you asked a number of the people that are viewing this, or even, a majority of those teams that are operating out there, they probably don't know, a lot of them don't know who their ideal customer profile is. So lead intelligence is now helping you identify that, where every lead is going to get a persona based on the personas that are in our database. We have that matched to the household level, but we're now providing more granularity and more information, intelligence for the agents, whether you're going on that listing appointment, that buyer meeting. You're still going to get to know them. But again, I know sometimes when I work leads, I maybe just it didn't have the cute image, or sometimes the image was wrong and it maybe had a female, but really it's a 65-year-old male. And so we're helping bring a little bit more visibility to that and having that directly fed into FUB. Now, what you can do with that is imagine a smart list that's all of my comfortable tradeswoman Chloe's. And now when I deploy whether it could be a direct mail campaign, it could be a social media campaign where perhaps you're retargeting these people, and now you're able to direct the creative. And so I think I mentioned earlier, the personalization at scale. The people that are going to win are those that create remarkable experiences moving forward. And there's so many different ways that you can do that. lead intelligence can just be one little variable as to how you do that and the secret sauce behind that, because you know more about who your people are than the broker across the street or those that you bump into on a regular basis. So we do have that capability to also provide that and have it flow directly within your system.
That's great. I don't.
I love this.
Go ahead, Kris.
Go ahead. I love this because, when I was in production, I wasn't born a broker in charge. I grew into it. But when I was in production, I learned that there's maybe 25, you're calling a database of 400,000 leads. There's really only like 25 different conversations that you're going to have. And the more you get on the phone, the more you talk to people, the earlier you hear those cues of, oh, this person's looking to retire, so I can put on that hat and flow into that conversation. Oh, these people just had a baby, they're going to look to upsize. These people, they're empty nesters, are going to look to downsize. I love this customer persona feature because it will, as I develop trust in the system, it will help me to put on that wealthy mom Wanda hat before we get on the phone. I can already have not a script, but a general game plan for my conversation. And if you can use your smart list to batch those, I'm going to call wealthy mom Wanda's all morning long. And then I'm going to shift to my glorious grandmas. Like, having that to help you segment is fascinating. And I'm so excited that you guys are doing this. It's an amazing feature.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's been fun to see the application. We're working with a team down in Sacramento, and it's been interesting to see they're now using these profiles to help them with their agent attraction efforts. So if I got a huge contingency, in this case, you can see there's comfortable tradeswoman Chloe. How do I go and identify more of those producing agents? So outside of just you're a growing agent, now let's go find people that have more empathy and can create those remarkable experiences. If that's who we're serving, anecdotally, we may have understood that. I think, there's different brokerages that appeal to different segments of households. And so now we can actually apply the knowledge and give confidence. Again, back to what I talked about in terms of the assets. If I'm looking at your business and you have this information in there and I'm looking at another one, I think you got your stuff together a little bit more with the application here. And perhaps that fits in well with the services that I'm already providing. And so it's been really fun. Like I mentioned, just understanding how how the teams that we're working with are applying this. We're learning something every single day. We're just providing them the information to make it happen.
Yeah, I love that. And Kris, I'm glad you said that because that's what I was going to say, but you said it better than me. But
I beat you to it.
But I gotta add in my little piece for the idea that, and I had this experience and I mentioned it often, and it was early in Follow Up Boss, and frankly, it was just a spreadsheet that I used to figure it out. But I started to realize that certain agents were closing either specific sources or specific, what I would essentially call a persona, now that we're talking about it like this, a lead type. And so the power of saying, hey, you know what? Agent Susie is amazing with the wealthy mom Wandas. Let's get more of those leads to her because she knows what to say. Maybe she is one of them herself, but she knows what to say. And she knows that they might want to meet at a Starbucks instead of getting a bunch of properties thrown at them online. She knows that, the online, offline shopping thing I thought was really interesting because, again, that could determine, do you want me to email you 1 million properties or do you want me to meet you with some paper and say, here's one, this one makes sense. So it really, and Steve, you said it, but I want to reiterate it. I don't think I can say this enough. Lead conversion is empathy. So this is giving you data to be able to be empathetic to their situation and where they're coming from and all those things to just simply have a better conversation. So I'm such a big fan. Love it.
Yeah. And so I talk through that's the lead conversion application for what we're doing. Now, the next evolution of that is now, because again, we have 270 million households. We now know who your consumers are. We know who's scoring high based on their activities. Now we go help you find more of them. And so this is the acquisition side. So for those that are looking to, again, supercharge what we're doing, we can actually provide you lists of contacts that score high, top 10%. You now have more confidence in them, and you can load them into Follow Up Boss, and we can just do a quick import in there. And now those are fresh leads for whether you have an inside sales agent to call on, maybe you have a mail house to call on them. And again, if you're doing mailing, the creative is specific to that persona so that they get it and they see, yeah, I can see myself being that person. I want to talk to that agent. And so we're helping people grow the top of their funnel by putting these into place. And so this is just a heat map, right? Of if I am, and again, there's different applications of this. So it's quite fascinating of whether it's the zip code level, but we can actually just identify, I'll just use Nashville in this example, just give me the top 10 or 2,000 contact records that align based off of the model that you built for me. And now we're sourcing those, and those can go into a brand new smart list that are perhaps those are going to be your cold lead intelligence list, because you got to do some work. That is where, as I see, and I keep going back to Fellow, there's others out there. Fellow is just the one that's top of mind. You can load them into a home bot. You can load them into whatever you want. But to load those contacts in and now have those machines go to work for you so that they steadily warm them up, you get them to go to your website, you get them to finally register to learn more, you create a defensible moat that's really tough to fight against. If you're others that are still in that, if they're in the referral business, that's always a part of it. There's also an application here for how we can help going and helping you source more so that you're not going to other lead vendors that are sourcing you leads that just aren't a right fit for how your company is, or maybe the agents that are in your system because they haven't been converting them in the future. Why try to continue to bang their head against the wall by converting them in sorry, I said the future, but the past and the future, right? So
Yeah.
This is where, again, you can start seeing this take shape. The other thing is as we look at the groups, similar to a lot of other industries, again, I'm putting my the merger and acquisition hat on. As you're starting to see consolidation in the industry, we've seen teams in this facet or brokerages that are looking to expand. And they're applying this to say, what is our current customer base and what markets do I need to go and pop up my next brick and mortar in, or where do I need to establish my team? Those are
right where you need to recruit or open another office.
You're dead. And so as you think about that, if you have the question and we have the model and we're confident in the model, there's a pretty good chance that we can solve it for you. And then you apply it, then you have to measure it. And so you'll hear me preach all the time around the results that we're seeing. And we have defensible case studies to back up, because a lot of this feels fluffy. They want to see the money now. Yeah, you got to work them. But if you put them into a system working along your team, right, that builds the predictable, the scalable, the sustainable and transferable processes and cash flow, that's how you can really supercharge what the teams are already doing. So again, I think I told you my data team made me throw a couple of these things in here, but I think it's incredibly helpful for people, and I'm happy to share this information as well, just so if they want to dig into it further, to just answer more of the questions that they have, because some of this, frankly, when we talked about it as a team, it was a little over my head. But now you look at just how, the largest Fortune 500 companies are doing this kind of stuff, and now we're able to bring it to the real estate industry, apply it, and those teams that apply it now have something as a defensible moat for their organization moving forward.
And it's part of the world that we live in. And pretty much anything you sign into, anything you sign up for, you're clicking that little box that says, yes, you can use my data. And, some people everyone has different views, of course. I don't want to share my data. I do. Like, send me ads that I'm interested in. Mail me stuff, call me about stuff that I'm interested in. But even unfortunately, even the most private of people, the world is collecting our data, and this is like you said, it's ethically sourced, where you don't have people driving around in cars, camping out in front of houses, smoking cigarettes to gather this data. It's all voluntarily offered. But it's really using it in a smart way to help us build the industry and meet people where they are. Because one of the challenges that agents are facing right now as an industry is we are in this information age, and a lot of folks think, but if they can do 30 minutes of research, they know how to navigate a sales contract, they know how to buy or sell a house, they know all the ins and outs of it. And this is allowing us as licensees to insert ourselves a little bit and say, hey, you actually need me, and let me educate you why on why I can help you through this, so I can save you thousands and thousands of dollars.
100%.
So I'm so excited that you shared this with us.
I think on top of that too, there's another piece I really love about it that I didn't even kind of process till we got past the slide. But there's a really still kind of nice gamification, I think, to both pieces, to both the finding new leads based on lookalike, but also very much the personas, just in the sense of I could hear agents saying like, oh, I got a new lead. It was whatever. I'll stick with the Wanda. It was a wealthy mom, Wanda.
Right.
Last time I had one of those, I said this, and she was great. And now we're best friends and we go shopping together every week and whatever. So it changes the conversation, kind of almost to your point about the data people, Steve, or the data slides, Steve. Like, not all of us want to like stare at heat maps and crazy data, but I think agents can really relate to this idea of like, ooh, I know that person's in this bucket and I know how to handle people in that bucket. I think that's just absolutely fantastic and brilliant.
Yeah.
And
No, I'm
it'll
glad
help
you
the team
did it.
with their role play. Like,
Right.
let's practice our wealthy Wandas or our glorious grandmas today. The personification, it's called persona, but the personification with all of our digitalness and work from home, and we don't see people like we used to. It's a gap.
Well, and they've become leads. We've referred to them now too much as leads. They're not humans. They're numbers in a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I love the personification of them, because even in your role playing, you're talking about a specific, a real person and what they might be doing. And I'm excited about this.
Yeah. It's one of those that, and it feels fluffy to a certain extent, but I implore people, the results are speaking for themselves. And so when we learn more about how we can strategically deploy this information, those conversations are really exciting. And then we just need to measure it and make sure that it is something that you can now scale within your organization. And that's, you see all the shiny AI tools that are out there, right? Conversational AI. You can think about the application there. So if I'm one of the tools that are out there, develop your conversational AI to speak to those personas. There could be opportunity there in application. So we're really at the beginning stages of this. I mentioned we're getting hit with different questions from various people in the industry when we're talking to a broker versus a team leader versus a franchisee. You name it. The problems are different in different cases. If I'm talking with your marketing person versus your recruiting team or whoever, and so I encourage people just to ask, like, how can we apply this, and then we can come with an actionable solution.
Absolutely, love that so much. Kris, you want to take us out? I think that's awesome. I love everything we covered. I think I'm so glad this is recorded too, so people can go back and maybe digest, because we did cover a lot.
Yeah.
But
No, it's good. I was excited about it, and now I'm even more excited about it because I have more information. So it's good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Please check out amplifiedsolutions.com. Please check out Agent Legend and Lead Intelligence. It's really the cutting edge of technology, and it's going to help you be empathetic and connect with people at a higher level. And that's really what everyone's in need of right now, is some connection. So
I love it.
one last parting thought. I want to take a minute to share with you what we do at Amplified Solutions, because we offer all this information about Follow-Up Boss and how to do things in operations. Our clients come to us to set up or improve systems within their Follow-Up Boss accounts. We help their agents to understand what they need to be doing and why and how to do it. And we help monitor leads within the database and ensure they're being worked correctly with the systems that we help you set up. So we start by overhauling your system with our proven method. We use this with clients all over North America. And we train your team, and we provide you with written handbooks, guides, SOPs, all that fun operational stuff that no one wants to do. And then we hook you up with an account manager, and they help you oversee the leads within your account. They nudge agents, make sure everyone's performing the way they're supposed to. As Steve said earlier, garbage in, garbage out. We make sure none of that's junking up your database. And we make sure we keep that data integrity really high. That keeps the confidence level of your agents up, so they know they can trust what's in the database, and it really helps you convert more leads into transactions. So check us out. We're at amplifiedsolutions.com. You can complete a free assessment, no strings attached. We give you an in-depth view of your account and what you can do or what we can help do for you, or you can book a call on our website. So we're going to add some links at the bottom of the video from both us and Agent Legend and Lead Intelligence, so you can easily find everything we referenced here today. And we appreciate your time. We can't wait to see you on the next episode.
Thank you, guys.